Welcome to Rges Algebra 1. This is lesson 1.8. It's actually entitled Problems That Lead to Equations, but they're focusing on things you're very familiar with from previous math classes, and that would be the two words perimeter and area. Recall that perimeter is the distance around a figure, and so if you have, for instance, a triangle, and you start right there, and let's say that's 3 inches, 4 inches, and 5 inches. If you march your way around it, that would be 3 plus 5 plus 4. So the perimeter, the distance around, would be 3 plus 5 plus 4. Adding in any order, of course, that would give you 12, whatever, inches, whatever it is. Okay. Now, area is, by the way, so let's just do perimeter for this rectangle, poorly drawn rectangle here. Okay, so let's say this is 2, then this would be 2. Let's say this is 5, and this is 5. Again, if we're marching around, we'd go up 2, and then over 5, and then down 2 more, and then over back to where we began, 5, and we would get 14 inches, or whatever the unit is. Now, notice for perimeter, if I'm working with a rectangle, if I were to, let's say, put this in more of an algebraic form, let's say this is x and this is y, I could say the perimeter is x plus y plus x plus y. I could also say, let's imagine I cut it in two. This is halfway around if I go up and over. So I could say it's 2 times x plus y. Right? I could also say, let's say, I've got x and y, and x and y. I could be looking at the widths. I could be looking at that and that. So that would be 2 times the x. Or I could be looking at plus 2 times the other two sides, the longer sides, in this case, the length. So any of these 3 ways of looking at perimeter when we're speaking about a rectangle are perfectly valid. Now let's think for a minute about area. What does area represent? Area represents the space inside, right? So perimeter, the distance around, area, the space inside. So you're familiar. For instance, if I have a rectangle and I've got width and I've got length, let's say this were 3 units this way and 5 units this way, I could kind of cut it up into 3 groups, 3 units this direction, 5 units this direction, and I'm asking how many small squares, right? 1 unit by 1 unit squares. How many of those do I have in the whole thing? Well, we've learned from the time you were quite young that would be length times width. Why is that? Well, because I have 5 units in my length here, and then I have another group of 5 units for the second unit here, and then I have another group of 5 for the third unit here. And so I'm taking groups of 5, 3 groups of 5, or I could turn it on its head and see 5 groups of 3, either way, and that would be the area. So what they're doing is working with some very basic geometric figures that you have worked with a long time, so there's nothing new or strange about them, and putting them in an algebraic setting now, so that you will work with algebraic expressions and solving algebraic equations. And so there should be nothing too mysterious about this section. Go ahead and do it at home. Pay attention to problem 21, where it expands it to circles. See what you remember about circles. And if you have any questions on anything else or on that question, bring it to class. But go ahead and think about that on your own.